It is 23 degrees Celsius here in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. Good morning and welcome to your daily dose of sunshine. Yes, it is quite cool in the FCT. Sunrise Daily is the name of the program. I'm Maokwe Ogunyusuf.
I promise you, without the sun, there will be no coolness. There will just be some cold, dead, ice age stuff. Amaya Makinde, good morning and welcome. It's 25 degrees here in Lagos, and in case you are trying to check and be sure, today is the 29th day in the month of July 2026. Again, welcome to the program.
Indeed, we have 2 days left to the end of July, and it does appear that July is not about to go without giving us, quite a number of things to look forward to as we enter August. But we do know that usually when July comes, along with the cold and the rains, usually comes either flooding or issues for us to look at in terms of we test the infrastructure that we currently have, and sometimes it includes personal infrastructure, housing infrastructure that has been put in place. In the last 2 days in some parts of the country, we have seen buildings go down, buildings collapse, perhaps as a result of the rain, perhaps as a result of poor construction, but in this instance we've lost at least 2 lives in the last 2 days as a result of this. One in Anambra State, the other happened in Ogun State just yesterday. Very unpleasant situations, and I do believe that while state governments do have a responsibility to continue to make sure that the drains are open, that they are able to mitigate flooding, they certainly also do have another responsibility to ensure that the infrastructure that people put up, especially for housing, can stand the test of time, that their integrity is still very much intact. Very worrisome pictures that we saw coming in from Ogun State yesterday. Ayo.
It's really, touching. And you've mentioned the 2 states, Ogun and Anambra State. And how many months ago, we were talking about a number of instances in Lagos and a few other parts of the country as well. Again, I think it was just yesterday, the Minister of Housing and Urban Development also pointed to something that leads us in exactly where it is supposed to be. This, I believe, will be the Ogun State incident. But that is just one of 650 building collapses, according to the Minister of Housing and Urban Development, over the past 52 years, since 1974, he said. And according to him, 1,600 lives have been lost to that. But there is something very, very important that the minister said, that in all of these cases, hardly has nobody was licensed and nobody was punished to serve as deterrents. The question is why? And now that the minister has said this, the question is what next? What else do we do from here? We have had incidences and instances, Marco, as you're well aware, where housing authorities, have gone to mark a building or an infrastructure that suspension buildings or progress should be suspended at that facility, and what do we find? We find activities resumed there without anything done for any assurances whatsoever. And here we are again. The question is, what happens now? The one in Anambra State has happened. What are we hearing? You've talked about the responsibility of state governments. I'm just wondering what we're going to get from this subsequently. It's just a lot. Are we obeying our own laws as a people? Are we obeying our own? What are the causes? There are always investigations after these collapses that jeopardizes lives and property, that jeopardizes lives and livelihoods. Question is, what happens now?
Oftentimes, residents in certain places can see when something is in danger. I do believe that what also needs to happen is the lines of communication between the governed and government needs to be opened up, where people can report, because of course it might be a bit difficult for government to be everywhere at the same time. And you always say this, that who is the government and who are the people? So that line of communication needs to be open between the people and the governed, and the government, beg your pardon, and that that communication needs to be there so that when people see something, they can say something and preventive actions can be taken. I know sometimes we're quite sentimental, we're a little emotional when it comes to things like this. People will say, oh, where will they go to? Where will people move to? Those kinds of questions. But where do they move to when accidents like this or when incidences like this eventually occur? I imagine that people want to be able to get out with their lives and in many instances with their property before the houses go down. So if it's preventable, if we can prevent the loss of lives and property, by all means, I want to believe that those are things that we should explore. Good enough, the Ogun State government has now said as a result of this, they are also going to be doing many more integrity checks around houses as this incident has now occurred. I want to believe that when incidences like this occur, it shouldn't just be a cue for that particular state. Other states too should take a cue and say, oh, what are we doing about this incident in our own state? Where do we have, for instance, the prevalence of old houses that are prone to this sort of issues? Do we have an institution of our government that can also check when houses are being developed to make sure that they meet the highest of standards? These are questions that governments, I want to believe, should be asking of themselves. Well, I do hope that we learn our lessons as it happens in one place. But we'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll be looking at politics. It's very much on the front burner. Yesterday, the Catholic Bishops' Conference paid a visit to the president, and they had quite a lot to say. He also had quite a lot in response. As he was speaking, we also understand that the appeal court has now cleared the way for the African Democratic Congress. Is now registered as a bona fide political party. All of the legal hurdles in its way, which could prevent it from participating fully in the 2027 elections, now seem to be out of the way, and its leadership is now fully in place. So we'll be having that conversation when we come back from this break. Please stay with us.
And it's equal opportunity. INEC, you mentioned, are neutral. They've never intimidated anybody. If political opponents are crying wolves, maybe they are afraid of their own shadows and the uncertainty in the companies they keep. Not me.
Welcome back. I do hope that you heard the president on that particular one where he did say that INEC is independent and they are not interfering in any situation. He says that if his enemies or if the opposition is, raising an alarm, perhaps they are afraid of their shadow. But I wonder if it ties into this conversation, this conversation we're about to have now, if our guest who is all ready for us will be seeing any linkage or if he'll be agreeing with the president given the judgment that they just received from the Court of Appeal yesterday. Barrister Kalu joins us now. He is a legal practitioner and a chieftain of the African Democratic Congress. He's somewhere in Umuahia. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. You do look quite relieved. You don't look tense at all. I'm sure that's as a result of that court judgment. I wonder what it would have been like if it went the other way this morning. But it's good to see you. Can you tell us your immediate feelings when you heard that court judgment given by their lordships yesterday?
You read me right that there is no more tension in the camp of ADC and among the members, the teaming supporters of ADC across Nigeria and even outside the shores of this country. What the decision of the Court of Appeal has always been the law. Section 225A of the 1999 Constitution is so simple that even a kindergarten child that is smart will read to the world that this is the provision. So I wonder where Honorable Justice Peter Lifo got his own interpretation from. And the INEC, the regulatory body that supervises election, and also the custodian of all the electoral materials in Nigeria, came to court, just coming to court. They filed papers, they filed processes, deposed to affidavit that these political parties met the constitutional threshold, which is just winning one seat. And on the part of the ADC won 2 House of Reps seats and 1 House of Assembly seat, despite the affidavit by INEC, the regulatory body. Justice Lifo, on his own, manufactured evidence that was nowhere before him and ordered INEC to deregister ADC. It was bizarre to us. It was bizarre to the whole world. But thank God that the justice of the Court of Appeal yesterday gave the proper interpretation of Section 225A of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And by that, ADC has navigated its way to the ballot for 2027. And that is why everybody in ADC was happy yesterday, is happy, and will remain happy for till we participate in the 2027 general election. Mark.
Well, it's interesting that this judgment coincides with the president's statement. I do not know if you saw that let's say, conversation he had with the leadership of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Nigeria, who paid him a visit at the State House yesterday. The president said that, you know, opposition they seem to more or less have a level playing field, that INEC does not interfere. And I think you just also said that INEC, you know, was called to witness in this case, and they did say that the ADC had met up. So are you confident then, first, one, do you agree with the president? Then two, are you confident that going into this polls, you do have an umpire that is neutral?
No, if at any point the opposition political parties start to suspect INEC, it is the conduct or the activities of INEC that will make the opposition political parties to suspect them. Just like when the Court of Appeal gave a judgment, and in that judgment, or the concluding part of the judgment, ordered that parties should maintain status quo ante bellum. INEC now became an interpretative body that now interpreted the judgment of the Court of Appeal, that did not in any way order INEC to strike down the names of the national leadership of ADC. At that point, by that conduct, it will be clear to everybody that INEC became partisan in the activities of 2023 general election. But if they function within the ambit of the law, nobody will accuse them for anything. The first name in its name is independent, and that is the way it should be. All the activities should be independent. There should be no interference from any quarters, from the executive arm of government, or from any quarters in the country or even outside the country. So we are confident that INEC should do the proper thing preparatory to 2027 general elections. And if they do, Nigerians will clap for them, Nigerians will rally around behind them, and the whole world will thump up for them. That's the preparation for 2027 election is not a rocket science.
Yeah,
the law is there to get INEC.
I haven't quite, it doesn't appear to me that your response is clear. My question has been quite pointed. Do you have confidence in the ability of the umpire to be neutral and to conduct free and fair elections as we head to 2027?
If you are listening to the foundation I laid, it's that for them to be neutral, it's not a rocket science. They can. Because the chairman of INEC, one, is a senior advocate of Nigeria and also a professor of law. So he has all it takes to supervise and superintend all the activities of INEC.
Are you suggesting that they're not? Is that what you're saying?
Based on their past activities, one can say they are not. But we are saying in some occasions they would appear to be. But overall, that is because of the activities, overall one can say that they are not. But we are saying they have what it takes to be independent. And we are urging them to be independent.
So you do not agree with the statement of the president then, that the opposition has nothing to fear?
I believe the statement of the president, who is a party in all this. Mr. President has said it repeatedly, everywhere he goes, that the politics is all about you grab it, you run with it, and you hold it. All up to him, anything is fair in politics, whether by hook or by crook. So for him to say that the INEC is independent, he's speaking from both sides of his mouth.
Okay. Well, where do you think now? I mean, for the candidates that have now, because you have said everybody in your party is relieved, clearly it does appear that all of your candidates that have your tickets, have a path ahead of them. But it does appear that even the primaries that were conducted within your party were not without question. Have you been able to successfully resolve whatever issues emanated after the primaries conducted by your party?
I'm not. Can you cite one specific incident where the primary of our party is being questioned? One.
Are you saying then that all the people within your party were satisfied with the primaries conducted by the ADC? In a contest, there will always be a winner and there will always be a loser. Some people are good losers, some people are bad losers. The good losers will congratulate the winner, but the bad losers, they will tell you that nothing happened, that it was not properly done and all that. So those are the bad losers, irrespective of the processes that were adjudged the best in the country. ADC is the only political party in Nigeria that conducted valid primaries across the nation. Mention any other political party that conducted valid primaries in Nigeria apart from ADC. Because we knew that the eyes of the ruling political party is on us, the eyes of INEC is on us. So what do we need to do? We need to do the proper thing so that all we have done will be within the ambit of the law. And that is why today the Independent National Electoral Commission has not questioned or raised any issue as to the validity or otherwise of the primaries conducted by David Mark, the NWC. So we are good to go. And I can tell you, after that judgment yesterday, in my house in the village, you mentioned that I'm in Umaya, I'm from Ohofia. In my house in the village, there was real party, because we knew that was the last litigation that would truncate ADC from being on the ballot.
no other litigation affecting the ADC anywhere in the country. So by the affirmation of the Court of Appeal that ADC met the constitutional threshold as provided by Section 225A of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, ADC is now on the ballot. We're just waiting for 16th January 2027 to vote Tinubu out of power and send him back to Lagos, because he has failed abysmally, he has failed woefully, and Nigerians are waiting for him to pay him back his wickedness and send him back to Lagos.
All right, let's go to Lagos then and speak with my colleague Ayo. I'm sure he also has questions for you. Ayo.
Well, thank you, Mokwe. Interestingly, Lagos, I'm pretty sure you also have some interests in Lagos as well, Barrister. But let me ask you this, especially since you mentioned Section 225A. I remember at some point the AGF also joined, in this conversation about the deregistration of some political parties, including the ADC. And one of these reasons was that these political parties, including the ADC, do not have at least 25% of the votes in a state during a presidential election, or secured at least one elective seat at the national, state, or local government election. But there's another one, and it talks about the AGF at the time contended that by continuing to recognize these non-performing political parties, INEC itself is acting in breach. So what are your thoughts on this? Maybe I should begin with this one, first of all. How old is ADC? When was the ADC registered by INEC?
ADC has been in existence since 2005.
Okay.
It has been in existence for over 21 years, over 20 years.
Okay. So that begs the question then. I apologize.
Hold on, sir.
Okay. I just wanted to emphasize the question so that you can answer it correctly. So after 20 years. Okay, go ahead.
Let me not take all your questions together. Go ahead, sir. Let me take your questions together.
No, go ahead. That's the question. I mean, since you understand the question already, please go ahead.
Okay. What was the business of the AGF in that matter? To tell you that the ruling APC and the presidency does not want the opposition political parties to be on the ballot. Because INEC was a party in that matter. And INEC is the supervisory body that supervises election. And INEC is also the custodian of all the electoral materials for every election conducted under the 1999 Constitution and under the Electoral Act. And INEC came to court, filed an affidavit, deposed an affidavit that these political parties met the constitutional threshold to remain as a political party. But the AGF didn't see it from that angle. The AGF, because it is working for the presidency and for the
I understand that, Barrister, but can we stick to the substantive issue? Let's forget the other parties involved here now. Does ADC have 25% of elective posts according to the requirements of the Constitution right this moment?
It's not a constitutional provision. That is what Justice Lifu gave to Nigerians as judgment. But the Court of Appeal said yesterday that provision should be interpreted disjunctively. That once you meet any of those requirements, that you are good to go. And what are those requirements? That the political party should win one seat at the State House of Assembly election, one seat at the National Assembly election, or 25% in the state of the federation as during presidential, and then 25 in the local government during governorship. And on the side of the ADC met two of those criteria, which are ADC won two House of Reps election in Kogi, and also won one House of Assembly in Kogi, and one of the people that won the election, Honorable Eleke Adejide, even took the party to court, and the party won Adejide in court. Justice Tillman delivered that judgment and said Senator David Mark was duly elected as the national chairman of ADC with other members of NWC. So, my brother, today the law has been properly interpreted by the justices of the Court of Appeal that session should be interpreted disjunctively, meaning once you meet any of the criteria, you are good to go. And ADC met 2 of those criteria. So how can you now say that the ADC did not meet the criteria?
Okay.
It is just Mr. Tinubu, APC, and the Attorney General that didn't see it from that prison.
I'm almost certain that
they were put to shame yesterday. Thank God they were put to shame yesterday by the justices of the Court of Appeal.
Well, I'm almost certain that the judge, the ruling did not in any way reference any of these other individuals that you're talking about, speaking to the substantive issue of the responsibility of INEC. Now, it is also not normal for anyone to...
You raise the issue of the role played by the HDF in that suit. What was their business? What was the business of AGF? AGF is for you and I. It's not just for the ruling party. But AGF became partisan. AGF became partisan. It is for all Nigerians, for the interest of all Nigerians. But from nowhere they became partisan. That is to tell you that the government of Tinubu does not want any opposition. They are in panic mood. And we are ready for them in the general election. You are in this country. See what will happen in January. See what will happen in January. Nigerians are going to pay back Tinubu in his wicked ways.
Anyway, so to the issue again, you would also agree that there are a number of times when officials of government, and I'm sure you understand these things, have an onerous task of looking at things the way they are. For instance, as at the last count, I think INEC has about 93 million voters in the country, and we're just adding numbers now. The voter registration, continuous voter registration just was suspended on Sunday, just this Sunday. That means a good number of people must have been added, and the numbers may rise above 100 million people. But then there are those who are asking the question whether or not indeed we had up to 93 million voters in Nigeria, because there are a good number of people who may have left the country, who will not be able to vote again during the elections. There are those who may have passed on for one reason or the other. There are those who may, for one reason or the other, they may not be able to vote again. Yet, there has been no audit of the register. What are your thoughts on that? Because at the end of the day, these things always add up. We always look at the percentage of voter turnout. We judge that by the number of people on the INEC voter register.
The INEC raised the issue. INEC even wanted to do this audit, but because of the trust issue, Nigerians rose and refused and rejected that audit because it was very close to election. How can you start an audit few months to the election? What it means that if you start an audit, so many people will be disenfranchised. So if INEC had been very sincere, immediately after the 2023 general election, that was 3 years ago, they would have started the audit. At least by now we would have cleaned up the INEC register. But they didn't do it. They want to start now. To start the audit, Nigeria said no. Leave us the way we are. Let's go to the pool and vote Tinubu out because he has failed Nigerians. He has failed Nigerians. People, I came to my village as I just left my village this morning, and I'm in Omaya now. I know how much I have spent giving to poor people in my village. To eat is a very big problem to people in the rural areas. I know it's also happening in your own area. And we have a government that should take care of the people, and we have so much money. Subsidy removed, money getting from subsidy, shared among themselves, looting everywhere. And you want the people to return people, the government that's put them into abject poverty, they won't do that. And they're saying they will rig election, they will rig election. We are waiting for them. They thought what happened in 2023, there was a glitch. So to say, that was the first time I heard about the word. There was a literal glitch. It will happen again this time around. Nigerians are waiting for them. And we keep saying, we are not going back to the court. To go, you hear them, we'll go back to court to reclaim mandate. We will not go back to the court. We will reclaim the mandate on the field on the 16th day of January 2027. That is where the whole thing will end. Nobody has monopoly of violence. You will say, go, beat them up, take the vote, run away with it. We wait for them on that very day. Nobody is going to go to court to go and
this is tending towards the kind of rhetoric that I don't think even you yourself will support. So when you are saying, for instance, that no one has the monopoly of violence, are you going to also meet violence with violence? You are a lawyer. You know that such automatically that is making a call.
No. We are saying, watch your language. We are going to meet violence with violence. I say yes. We will not start violence. But anybody that thinks that he has violence, we will meet him on
Should there be violence at all, barrister? There shouldn't be. President Jonathan remains saying that election is not a do or die affair.
You saw what happened in Lagos State. You saw what happened in Lagos State in the last general election. You saw what happened. That people came out to vote, and they were beaten up. They were maimed, and they were chased out of the polling units. It was everywhere. Your station channels covered it. So we are saying any person coming thinking he's going to inflict pain, inflict injury on Nigerians in 2027 election, that person is a joker. That person is a joke because we are ready.
Again, barrister, you are a lawyer. Just a moment.
If they want it peacefully, we will do a peaceful election. But if they import violence,
you're a lawyer.
For them on that very day.
Barrister, you're a lawyer. Now, the issues you have raised, they sound, just a second. The issues you have raised now sound like things that should have been taken up in a post-election process. Was there any action with evidence taken up by you? Just a second, Was this matter taken up by you or anyone that this happened in a particular locality or the other? Did any political party go to court or call the police and say, these things happened, let us address it justicably?
You know the truth, but you do not want to accept the truth that your station covered all the violence perpetrated against Nigerian citizens that came out to vote on that election day. And some people went to court, and you saw how the verdict went. And Nigerians are saying, because we thought we are in a country governed by law, where violence is at no time tolerated and shouldn't be tolerated. And people now use that to inflict pain on them. Some people even lost their eyes. Some people were told to leave Lagos if they cannot vote for a particular political party. And at all that, nothing happened. And somebody with all this criminality, the court affirmed his victory. We said no problem. Once beaten, twice shy. Nigerians will not allow it again. Anybody that thinks he's coming on that very day, listen to my word very well. Anybody that thinks he's coming out on the election day, on the 16th of January 2027, to inflict pain or to cause violence in the election, that person, I will say sorry to that person. Nigerians will say sorry to that person because we have learned our lesson and it will happen again. That is the message to the people who are planning to come and create violence on the day of election.
Well, barrister, I'm hoping that you are not calling for violence, because The rhetoric, the way you're sounding, you are essentially telling people not to come out to vote because nobody wants to jeopardize their lives. With this kind of rhetoric coming from you, I don't think anyone would want to come out to vote if you are saying that you're going to meet violence with violence. That's the way it is sounding.
I said any person, let me repeat myself for purposes of emphasis, any person who is thinking that he's coming out on the election day to perpetrate violence, to create violence on the election day, that I say sorry to that person. That is my language. I didn't say we will create violence. I didn't say we are going to perpetrate violence. I never said so. But I said any person that is thinking about it, that what happened in 2023 will happen again in 2027, that the person is a joker. Because the person will receive it in quantum. We will give back to the person. But we will come out on that election day, prepared to vote, prepared to conduct ourselves in a democratic manner. Vote, wait for our vote to be counted, and once it's counted, declared, we follow it to the coalition centers across until it's declared. But once you think you can come back with a gun, you can come out with all this leather weapon, on that very day, my brother, you will meet the water.
I'm also hoping that you would join other people in gathering evidence so that these matters will be taken to court as opposed to Nigerians taking the law into their own hands. Thank you so much. Just a second, we have to go, Barrister. We really do have to go. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Barrister Kalu Kalu is a legal practitioner and ADC Chieftain. When we return, we take on a security issue on the bill. To stay with us.
Welcome back. It's no longer news that sometime last week, on Wednesday last week, the president created 4 new divisions within the Nigerian army, bringing the total number of divisions within the Nigerian army to 12. Now this has now been praised by many respondents, but then they also believe that it has far greater implication, or it should have far greater implication for Nigeria's security, and that a lot more work now needs to be done to make sure that these divisions are fully operational. Now, what needs to be done? This morning, we're joined by Captain Bish Johnson. He is a retired U.S. Army captain and also a national defense and military strategist. It's good to see you in our studios this morning. Welcome to Sunrise Daily. You have been writing on the implications of this and what now needs to happen for us to see the results or the effect of this affecting positively the security situation in Nigeria. I think the article you've written is titled President Tinubu's 4 new army divisions and security reforms, what they mean and what they don't do. So what have you heard, or what did you hear that made you write this article?
Well, good morning, and thank you for having me. Well, a lot of people think that because the president has made an announcement that there will be 4 more army divisions in Nigeria, therefore is a magic stick that you can just wave and all of our insecurity will just disappear. It takes a while to stand up any military formation. It takes a while because what the president has done was to create the administrative framework. Now, which is the easy part of it. Now, the hard part of it now is now to be able to do the operational framework, which is standing up those formations by themselves. And standing up, I mean you have to recruit manpower, you have to train them, you have to provide them with facilities, you have to equip them properly. And so a division is a very massive endeavor to stand up a division. And that goes also in like, I must commend the president for doing that. One would have thought that, the person who could have done such a thing would have been the late President Muhammad Buhari, who was a retired general and a former head of state. But he didn't do that. Now you have a man with 0 military experience, understanding that the Nigerian military is needs to be expanded, because they do need to be expanded. The military, the army that we have today does not fit the country that we have, when you look at the kind of insecurity that the country faces. So you understand that we will need to expand our military. But having said that, what I was trying to say in that article is that, okay, look, this is a very bold and courageous step that the president has taken. And this is also in line with some of the other things that this president has also taken in the course of the 3 years that he's been in office. Whether it's about the removal of the fuel subsidy, or the students' loan, or this attempt to decentralize the police. And now you're not talking about additional 4 army divisions.
Yeah.
But what I was trying to say is that, look, yes, the easy part is done. But now it's going to require much more hard work for us to be able to make those 4 divisions operational.
And it does appear that, from all the things that you have enumerated, when you talk about creating 1 new division, it appears that a lot goes into it. Now we have 4 new divisions. Do you think that we run the risk of not running standard divisions?
There's a possibility of that, because now you're talking about, there will be a lot of funding that we need to go into, not only recruiting the manpower, training them, but also equipping them. Okay, you're not going to stand up a division just to give them AK-47. That's not what equipping them means. You have to give them everything that they need. Now let me break it down so that people understand what a division is all about. You see, a division is usually anywhere between 10,000 to 20,000 soldiers, right? And the president has talked about recruiting additional 28,000 soldiers. That's
already inadequate.
Yes, that's like you're talking about recruiting just 1 division with that 28,000. So there is still additional 60,000 that you need to recruit, right? And when you recruit, you are just bringing in new people, right? They don't have that much of experience. So what it means is that you have to go back to the already existing divisions and bring the senior officers, the senior enlisted with experience. You move them from where they are to these new divisions that are created, because those divisions are not going to be led by just these 28,000 people that are being created. They must be led by senior people that have experience. And where do you get those senior people from? You get them from the already existing divisions and bring them there. Now, when you move them from those existing divisions, you have already created a gap in divisions that we are also struggling, that we are undermanned, to staff these new divisions that you're talking about. If you go and move equipment from those divisions as well to these new divisions that you're talking about, you have also created equipment gap in those already existing divisions. So what I'm saying is that it's going to require, the impact may not be even felt, even if Mr. President wins re-election in 2027, may not even be felt throughout his second term. It's a long-term strategic objective that is going to require a lot of time and a huge finances to be able to staff those divisions.
In your own estimation, given what you know needs to be done, and given the amount of resources needed to make these divisions truly stand, assuming all conditions were equal, how long do you think it would take for us to be able to actualize these 4 new divisions, all things being equal?
Well, if all things are equal, finances is not a problem. We have all the money in this world to finance them.
Yeah.
You still have to train officers, right? They enlisted, okay, you recruit someone, you send them to initial enlistment training course. It's usually about 6 months, before you transform them from being civilians to becoming soldier, right? In the officer corps, the commissioned officers is different, because they have to go to the academy in order to get commissioned. And that takes about 4 years, right? And how many of them are you going to rush out within that period of 4 years? Understand that a division is usually between 10,000 to 20,000 soldiers, right? All of those soldiers are not going to be the officer corps, but at least 1/4 of it may have to be the officer corps who are going to lead those soldiers. And so it will be a while. It's a natural progression it's good that he has started it. If Buhari has started it when he came into office, maybe by now we would have been standing up all those 4 divisions.
Yeah, so you still haven't given us a time frame. All things been on a normal day, on a regular day.
I can tell you that it will take a while. The reason why I can't give you a specific time frame is because you don't know, those divisions are not, all of them are not going to be the same.
I'm speaking theoretically.
If all of them are the same?
No. I'm trying to bring this up theoretically. When you hear the creation of a division within the military, theoretically speaking, within a period of how long does it normally take, or is it usually expected to take to make a division?
Let's take one division, for example. Say 20,000 soldiers.
Yeah.
Out of that 20,000 soldiers, about 5,000 of them are members of the officer corps, right? I don't know the capacity of NDA, how many cadets they enroll
on a yearly
basis for them to be able to churn out that 5,000 officer corps. And now, when they go through NDA, that is not the end of their training. They still have to go to their various specific areas of specialty. For example, if you are infantry, you still have to go to infantry school. If you are armor, you still have to go to armor school. If you are a tanker, you still have to go to tanker school. If you are military intelligence, you still have to go to their specialized training school. If you are military police, you have to go to a specialized school. That is why it is difficult for me to sit here and say, look, this is how long it's going to take.
Yeah, so you do not want to put a figure. You don't.
I don't want to put a date on it.
This can say 5 to 6 years for at least an average division to be able to stand.
I can't, because divisions are not always the same. It depends on
the mission. You can give an estimation.
It depends on
between 4 to 6 years, between 5 to 7 years.
I don't know the intake capacity of Nigerian Defense Academy, so I can't tell you. Because that's where the officer corps are going to come from, is by going through that the academy. Anybody that you're pulling from already existing formation eventually must have to be replaced. Otherwise, you're going to create another gap.
What you do know that this is a lot of work.
It is.
You know, the reason I've asked you is because I do know that you also have friends within the Nigerian military, and I'm sure that you must have had conversations with them. Yesterday, I had the privilege to be at a place, at a conference, or let's say a seminar, where issues of security were being discussed. The keynote speaker for that conversation was former Chief of Defense Staff, General Leo Irabo, and he was talking about how even right now as we speak, it doesn't appear that we have put our money where our mouth is with regards to intent and what we release. Even looking at our all the budgets that we've had so far in the last couple of years, that we would estimate one thing for security, and less than 20%, it would seem, is found in releases towards this. And usually that 20% goes mostly towards personnel costs. So we'll see these huge sums of money in the budget meant for security or meant for the security agencies, and everyone is thinking, okay, yes, we're taking security seriously, but what actually comes out as releases is very troubling. I think he said for the Air Force was about 13%, for the Army was about 17%, and you know, it's very worrisome that if this is what is currently happening as we speak with the 8 divisions that we had before now, there'll be huge questions as to the creation of these new divisions. While it is commendable, where is the money going to come from if we cannot maintain what we currently have?
That's why I said that what the president has done was just to set up the administrative framework to have 4 additional divisions. And the operational framework is the hard part of it. And the reason is because the funding you talked about is also a factor in it. You see, that is where Nigerians are losing this whole thing, that they don't get it, because when they see budget, they just think that this is the money that is available to the various agencies. It's just an estimate of what could be available to them, depending on the receipts of the federal government. So if the federal government doesn't get enough receipts, they don't get all of those things, all of those budget that you see on the book. And it's not only the military, the same thing with the police, the same thing with all the other several ministries and departments and agencies of government. They don't get everything that you see in the budget. They'll be lucky. Nobody gets up to 50%. of what you see in the budget. And for security, that is always evolving. You know, security situations are always usually emergency situation. And if they need 1 billion today to solve a specific problem, and you go to the National Assembly and you take 2 years or 2 months, 5 months, whatever the case may be, to debate, and you give them out of that 1 billion, you give them, say, 250 million. That problem cannot be solved, because it's a problem that cannot be solved with 250 million. There's nothing like management in security. You can't ask them to go and manage this one. No. If it's a problem of 1 billion, that 1 billion is what you need to solve that problem at that time. If you spend a lot longer time before the money gets to them, the problem will evolve into a much bigger problem that will now require additional funding for you to be able to tackle it at that time.
So how do they then manage? Because clearly, I mean, I don't think it's our job to do so, but clearly the expectations of Nigerians now need to be managed with the creation of these new divisions.
Yes.
What do you think needs to happen? As one thing for the president to have said it, how do we hold the feet of the president and his executive cabinet to the fire to make sure that this is not just a promise on paper?
Well, there is nothing you can do to hold the feet of Mr. President to fire. If the president can only work with what is available to him as a president. He's not going to use his personal money to fund Nigerian problems, right? If there's a drop in crude output, if there's a drop in the income that the federal government takes in, it's going to affect how much funds that will be available.
Yeah, but he should be aware of that before, creating. Are we going to have divisions in the air? Wouldn't he have known that before creating 4 new divisions?
Yes, but you can't say, look, we will not act. You have to do something, and you have to have a starting point. The president knows that these things are not going to be rolled out overnight, right? They know that it will take a long time. So the best thing is to roll them out, and you begin to effect the ones that you can effect at a time. It's not all this is not going to be achieved once. They may not even be able to stand up all the 4 divisions up at once. Because now within those divisions, you still have brigades and battalions and the companies. You see, the soldiers are not at that division. The soldiers are within the subordinate units that make up that division.
Let me quickly get a quick question from Ayo.
Well, thank you, Mokwe. Just one question, Captain. I believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that the job of any security agency in any country should be to defend or to be proactive as opposed to being reactive. It is clear that no agency of government, no single security agency can do it all alone. And it is also an established fact by you and so many people in your industry that the police is supposed to be the primary agency of government in terms of internal security. How does this new arrangement that the president is fostering, how does it play out in the entire scheme of things? Does it have any correlation with this whole state police initiative that the president is also championing?
Well, like you just mentioned, there has to be collaborative work between amongst all of the various agencies, whether it's the military or the police or the intelligence, and that's why I brought my book here. You see my book here that is about to be launched. It's called War Without Front Lines, Hybrid Warfare and Nigeria's National Security Future. So basically what this book is saying is that, look, the battlefield has changed. It used to be that, you know who your enemy is, you know where they are located, so you have to fortify yourself, recruit manpower, train them, equip yourself, and then you go and you confront your enemy wherever they are. But the battlefield that we confront today is no longer the same. It has changed. Change in the sense that you now have non-actors that are also in play. They don't fire weapons, but they even do more damage to you by not even firing weapons. They hack into your systems, cyber security. Some of them use misinformation to create unnecessary havoc that you have to deal with. You have to confront the issue of insurgency, terrorism. So all of what these things have intersected to create a very complex security situation that what ordinarily and traditionally could have been done by the army or by the police cannot be done just by the military or the police acting either together or alone. So you have to bring in the intelligence community. You have to bring in all the various other aspects, including we the citizens. All of us, it has to be like this all society approach to be able to deal with the kind of battlefields that is in play now as we speak. So yes, the answer to your question is that this 4 new division is not unrelated to decentralization of the police, because we need to have more manpower, we need to have more boots on the ground, because the problems that we have continue to evolve and continue to multiply every day. And so we have to also be able to be one step ahead of it, to be able to contain it.
But I do hope, I don't know if we're one step ahead, because we have a myriad of problems, hydra-headed, and clearly it does appear that we're many steps behind in catching up with them. I don't know what it would take for us to, get to the front, but clearly, the political will to make sure that these divisions eventually come to light, and the resources that need to be marshaled to make them happen will need to also meet up with the expectation. We have to thank you very much for shedding light on this and bringing your thoughts to the fore as always. Thank you very much, Captain Bass Johnson. He's a retired U.S. Army captain and also a national defense and military strategist. Congratulations on your new book as well. Thank you very much. Well, that's where we close on today's program, Sunrise Daily. Thank you so much for being a part of it. I'm Malfe Ogunyese.
And I'm Ayo Makinde. In a few minutes, it will be time for Business Morning. Just stay with us.